couldn't handle. Get ready for a battle, 'cause you know that I was born for this. I was born for this.
Good morning, everybody. I love you guys. You were born for this. Well, we heard last week about an ordinary guy doing extraordinary things in the power of Jesus. Amen? Was that good? Isn't it so encouraging to know that just ordinary people God uses? And I was so encouraged that I've been going through this. And we just remember we've been going through Nehemiah. We're just doing 3 weeks. We started last week. His heart was broken for his people, for his community. And he just said, somebody's got to do something. And Nehemiah 2:18, where this is all really the base on, so they began the good work. It had to start somewhere. And Nehemiah was getting so frustrated that nobody was doing anything. And he said, if no one's going to do it, then I'll just have to do it. I'll give it a go. He wasn't a pastor. He wasn't a priest. As we heard last week, he wasn't a mighty king. But he decided that he knew who God was, that God can perform the miraculous. And then he just said, God, use me. And from being a cupbearer and praying and seeking God, he stepped out in faith to do more than whatever anybody else in his community had actually tried to do. He was comfortable. He would not have benefited from this. He was going to go back to being a cupbearer, back into the king's palace. But his homeland, his community, would benefit. And it's amazing what we can do when we put our mind to it and then hold God's hand and go along. So nobody rose up for what they needed to rise up. His heart was so broken that we heard last week, he sat and he cried his eyes out. And he went from crying to repenting before God. And then from sitting, he went onto his knees and he fasted and prayed. And he did this for months. We're not on about just a few hours. And he poured his heart out before God. He fasted and prayed for about 4 months. And then after that, he got stood up and he took action. And this is where we're picking it up from today on our week 2. Standing strong in the face of opposition. These are hard times, aren't they? When you have to face opposition. Maybe you're the type of person who doesn't mind that. But generally speaking, we find it pretty tough. Anytime God leads you to do something good, meaningful, generous, or lasting, expect opposition. Expect obstacles. Expect resistance. It will come, and if you've been fortunate enough not to have it, unfortunately, I'm telling you, it will come. Because even Adam and Eve, they had the serpent. The opposition of making them doubt what God had told them. What about Moses with Pharaoh? He didn't want the job, and yet he stood out and went forth, and Pharaoh time and time and time again, dead end, dead end, dead end. He started questioning, but he said, no, we'll go and push through. What about David? In the world's eyes, he was inexperienced against this mighty soldier, this mighty, gigantic giant of a man with Goliath. Expect opposition. What about our hero Jesus? Wow, in the New Testament, did he not have many oppositions? From Herod, from the kings, to the religious leaders of the Pharisees and the Jewish leaders. Even the devil himself and the demons, he was just opposition, opposition. The one that gets to me the more out what Jesus had to, and the opposition was a close friend. I think they're the hard ones because we expect more. He knew what it is to be betrayed by a very close friend of Judas. We often see him as the enemy because we've grown up with the stories, but They were intimate. They were friends. He was part of a team of ministry that they worked and did life together. And yet he betrayed him by a kiss. Betrayed him that something should have been intimate, a gesture, a friendship. He betrayed him. And today we're going to hear about Nehemiah. As we're going through Nehemiah, I hope you've had a chance to read through. And if you haven't, there's still plenty of time. Maybe this week, just set some time aside and read through the whole book of Nehemiah. And just let the Holy Spirit just minister to you and speak to you. And Nehemiah had two guys. They often come in twos because they're often, I find, cowards. But Nehemiah had two guys. They were bad guys. They were just a pain in the neck. Yeah? All the time. They were just there. And they were called Sanballat and Tobiah. But Nehemiah didn't know these guys were coming. He started the work. He inspires the people. Everything that everybody thought was impossible, he inspires them to get going and to start on this ministry. These guys weren't builders. They were just everyday guys in the community. And the ones that did have jobs, the Bible tells us that there were perfume makers and there were goldsmiths and carpenters and merchants. They're not maybe exactly qualified to be building the city back up to make it all great again. But they had inspiration, and together they come with one purpose. They started on the gates. There was the fish gate, the horse gate, and the water gate, and the gates go on. There was a dung gate. I am so glad I was not there for the dung gate. I would be very happy to work on the fish gate or the sheep gate. The water gate sounds probably a bit more perfect for me, but at the end of the day, somebody had to take the dung gate. I am so glad I wasn't there for that one. But he started on the gates, and the people were making progress. When you do something that glorifies God, spiritual opposition will definitely show up. When the work goes down, opposition shows up. And Nehemiah 4, verses 1 to 3 said, when Sanballat heard that he was rebuilding the wall, he became angry and was greatly incensed. He said, he ridiculed the Jews and in the presence of his associates of the army of Samaria. And he said, what are those feeble Jews doing? What are them destiny guys doing? What do they think they are? Who will restore the wall? Will they start with offering their sacrifices? Do they think they're going to finish in a day? Can they bring the stones back to life from the heaps of rubble, burned as they are? Tobiah, the Amorite, there's always a second one, always perks in after the first one's made a go, by the way, then was at his side. What are they building? Even a fox could climb up on it and it would break down their walls of stone. Nobody asked for their opinion. They weren't working or coming to contribute. Just get away and go and do what you want and keep your thoughts to yourself. But oh no, they thought their voice was important. Have you ever noticed when you do something and when you step out in faith, you're often met with that resistance? So for example, maybe you decide it's been a long time to coming back to church, and maybe you decide I'm going to really put things right in my family and in my life. I'm going to start actually going back to the community, back to Destiny, back and fellowshipping with everybody together. Opposition will show. You will sleep in that morning. The kids will start fighting and arguing and decide they do not want to get dressed and come to church. You'll decide that maybe you're going to start getting the dinner ready early, and something you'll have forgotten to have purchased will help. Opposition always turns up. Maybe you've been in debt for a long time and you've decided you're going to do something about it. So you put your affairs in order and you try to work out a plan to pay back slowly and take an extra job. And you're working at it, and you know what often happens? The car breaks down. Give me a break. Opposition comes in different ways. Maybe you say, well, I've heard lots of times people saying that we needed more help for the youth work or the kids work. And maybe you say, okay, I'm going to start with this ministry. And you pray over it and you start joining the Destiny Kids. And your first week in Destiny Kids, that wonderful child is sick all over you. And you think, this is not the ministry I thought I was given. I'm sat in a corner with sick all over me. Sometimes opposition comes in different ways. Things that will come just to stint you, just to put you off. Maybe you've told somebody something that's been on your heart for such a long time. You tell that one person who's close to you, and they say, don't you be stupid. You can never do that. They shoot you down before you've even shared everything that you could get to. Don't be surprised when you face opposition. When you take steps of faith, the enemy will try to push you back. Advancement invites opposition. The devil won't bother those who are not a threat. You know, if you are saved today, if you know Jesus as the Lord and your Savior, the devil cannot steal that from you. You are okay. You are in. You know where you are going and you know your God. But what I find so many times through life as I look out, sometimes people just think, that's it. I just want to know I'm in, and that's enough for me. And the devil tries to put brakes upon you going anywhere, just to slow you down. The moment you step out to honor God, all the flags in hell start going up. The traffic light systems in hell, they've got a green, amber, and red. And you suddenly think, well, do you know what Cath was saying today? Maybe I should help out with the Destiny Kids. Maybe I should be a bit more committed and come and make more commitment to my Connect group. Hell's going, amber, demon, onto it. Demon 2, onto it. Just slow that one down. We are not having any of that nonsense here. Thank you. Sometimes we don't see it coming that way. And often we just sit back down. Oh, we'll think about it in another month's time. Demon 1, back you go. Okay, well done. Good job. Star chart for you. Demon 2, just watch that. Let's make sure it doesn't go to red, because once we go to red, the potential in that person, just calm down. We're okay. If we're just smoothing, just coaching along, we'll be okay. The challenge is, are you coasting along today? Do you just want to go to church to tick that box? Hi, Cath. Hi, Jonathan. Hi, everybody. Out we go, quick. Last song, gone. You'll engage a little bit when the opportunity comes to something that excites me or I'm passionate about. I'll come to the odd prayer meeting. I don't want to, not too much, don't want to be too committed or they'll expect me all the time. I'll serve here and there when needed, but let me just back out a little bit more. I'll give occasionally when feel like I'm a little bit more flush in the bank. Are you coasting? Are you giving Jesus 100%? You'll do some spiritual things, but enough to make you feel good, but not enough to really make a difference. The moment you step out, the moment you really engage and you go for it, you are definitely going to be a target. There's no doubt you're a target. Demon 1, Demon 2, Demon 3. Off you go. Go now. You might feel like you are only maybe overseeing a small group, or maybe you go to Destiny Kids and you help and you're just cutting things out and you'll be thinking, well, I've done this for 5 years. I'm not really making a big difference. Sometimes it's not always about you. Sometimes it's the input and the potential you are inputting into somebody. The seed that is the potential that is going on, and your input and your influence in protecting and praying and nurturing and bringing up to go and make a mighty difference for this world. So the challenge today is God is asking for some of us to really step up. Not just in your church, but in your community. Step up in your workplace. Step up in your family to make a difference and not just to coast on. Opposition always will have critics, so don't be surprised when they come. But I found that the loudest boos come from the cheapest seats. Remember that. So how do you respond to all these critics and doubters? Well, our example of Nehemiah is just amazing. How does he respond? He doesn't. Let's really notice what he does. He doesn't answer Sanballat or Tobiah. He doesn't defend his position. He doesn't validate and say why and what God's told him to do. He prays. When you acknowledge your critics, you give them power. They're not really important until you start responding, and that makes them feel important. Our goal isn't to change critics, but it's to do the will of God. You don't have to defend yourself. Let's just leave that bit to God. Nehemiah decides to stay on the wall. And my prayer today is that you will stay on the wall, working for Jesus. It's not always easy, but you'll keep on with the plan that is set before you. It was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears on the wall, but he kept on keeping on. When you start out in ministry and when you start supporting in different groups and serving, you'll hear voice of critics saying things, well, you're going to Destiny Kids. You can hardly look after your own kids. What good are you going to be there? You're doing what? You're going to help the youth work. Have you seen your teens recently? Maybe you need to look. People in glass houses shouldn't be throwing stones. I tell you time and time again, when you step out and you maybe say, well, maybe I could help with hosting a Connect group. You don't even know your Bible. Never mind getting your testimony straight. How the heck are you going to host a group? Who do you think you are? You can't do that. You're past that. You're a little bit too old. You? Sorry, you're a bit too young. No. You're just too overeducated to be working with the guys on the streets. They're never going to get you. You want to, you're just too uneducated. They'll never understand, and it's just a little bit above you. You? Well, if you don't mind me saying, you're not really experienced enough, or you can never, ever take on another ministry. How are you going to go and help out with everything else? No, you're too busy. You've got enough on. Remember, when you step out, opposition steps in. Try not to be moved by too much praise. It's always good to encourage each other, but don't let praise go to your head. And don't let criticism go to your heart. Nehemiah decides not to engage. He decides to turn to the higher power and to pray. He takes time out and he prays before God to look for direction. And Nehemiah 4, verses 4-6 says, Hear us, our God, for we are despised. Turn their insults back on their own heads. I love that. Give them over as plunder of land for this captivity. Couldn't say it. Do not cover up their guilt or blot out their sin from your sight, for they have thrown insults in the face of the builders. So we rebuilt the wall till all of it reached half its height. It's a big wall, guys. It's not like a wall in your back garden. Because they worked with all their heart. They were not professionals, but they come together in unity and they worked with all their heart. So when Nehemiah faced opposition, what did he do? He prayed and he went back to work. Another round of opposition, another round to pray. More opposition, more prayer. More opposition, more prayer, work. Prayer, work, prayer, work. People are starting to get a little bit despondent because we hear in Nehemiah 4:10, people were doubting. And the reason they were doubting is because they started, let's just read it, they started hearing that maybe bad things are going to happen. Meanwhile, the people in Judah said, the strength of the laborers is giving out, and there is so much rubble, we cannot rebuild the wall. And also our enemies said, before they know it or see us, they will be right there among them, and they will kill them and put an end to the work. Then the Jews who lived near them came and told us 10 times over, wherever you turn, they're going to attack us. They started to doubt, started to panic. What does Nehemiah do? He starts to put more posts and more guards on the wall. He makes a plan, but he doesn't come back down to start telling them where to go. He starts just praying and working, praying and working. When this happens for you, pray. Pray hard that everything depends on God. And work as if everything depends on us. Sometimes some people need to get a little bit less spiritual. Can I say that? A little bit less of quoting all the scriptures. Thinking, really, Kath? Have you just said that? They need time to roll up the sleeves and get on with the work. And sometimes some people need to stop being like a Mary and Martha, need to be working so much, and need to start praying and starting focusing on and being a bit more spiritual. The thing is we need to pray and work. Pray and work. Not pray and shirk, but pray and work. You know, you're always going to get, as we've said, these external opposition, these external voices that are going on. Who do you think you are? You think you're going to make a difference? Woo! You don't have what it takes. That is the worst one ever. You! They don't know who you're really like. Your external opposition will only be as loud as your internal insecurities. Don't allow it. Don't allow it. Fix your eyes on Jesus. Don't be turned to the right or to the left, but just keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. Nehemiah started to battle his own insecurities. He took his eyes back off himself and back onto God and back onto the mission. And Nehemiah 4:14, it comes down and it says, don't be afraid of them. Remember the Lord who is great and awesome. Nehemiah just suddenly thought, hang on a sec. I remember. It wasn't that long ago I was going before the king. And I was asking the king for favor to come and do this. It wasn't that long ago when I was asking for resources and the king obliged. It wasn't that long ago I saw miracle after miracle. Greater is he that is in you. If God is for you, who can separate you? Remember the goodness of God. He suddenly thought, Nehemiah says, I remember the stories of the ancestors when they were in Egypt and they were being brought out of slavery. I remember the stories that have been told to me time and time again of the miracles as God split the Red Sea. They come to a dead end and the sea split. And not just that, they walked across on dry ground and the enemies that came behind were drowned. He remembers the stories and the miracles of the fire, of the pillar of the fire by night as they were led, as God led them, and the manna that came daily. When you go through a tough time, when you go through a time of doubting, remember what God has done for you. The greater the opposition against you, the greater the opportunity for God to fight for you. Nehemiah 4:14 says, don't be afraid of them. The Lord who is great and awesome. And fight for your families, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. So what do we need to do when we're going through these tough times? when we're just feeling a bit of an ordinary person, wanting to step forward and to do something, and then we just feel a little bit intimidated. Remember what the Lord has done. Remember what he's done in the Old Testament. Remember the miracles after miracles. Remember the time that he's brought you through. Remember and keep on fighting. Maybe it's a season that you need to start really committing to church. Remember what the Lord has done for you and keep on fighting to stay committed. Remember it's a season that you need to pay off some debt and you just think, am I going to get there? Remember what the Lord has done for you and keep on fighting. Maybe it's a season that you need to fight for your marriage and you're just thinking, this is really tough. Remember what the Lord has done in the past and what he can do again and keep on fighting. Maybe it's addiction today. Maybe you're in addiction of gambling or alcohol or drugs or even porn. And there's just someone you just don't feel like you can share with. Take it to God. You can break this addiction. Remember what the Lord has done and keep on fighting. Maybe it's for your children today who don't know the Lord as Savior. Don't give up. Pray for them. Remember what the Lord has done and keep on fighting. Maybe it's for healing today. Remember what the Lord has done and keep on fighting for that miracle. Remember you feel a call for some people that are victims of abuse and struggling. Remember what the Lord has done and keep on fighting. We heard today about the unborn child. We won this time round. Well done, everybody who signed that petition. Amazing. But it'll come back up again. Remember what the Lord has done and keep on fighting. Let's not be coasting. I remember our God can, because he's done it before, and he can do it again. Whenever you do something that matters, you will have a battle, you will face opposition. You might not be chosen by people, but you're chosen by God. The greater the opposition against you, the greater the opportunity that God will fight for you. I love this in Galatians. It says, don't grow weary in doing good, but at the right time you will reap a harvest. And often people stop there. Don't grow weary in doing good, but at the right time you're going to reap that harvest. But the last bit is so important. If you don't give up. You will reap the harvest if you don't give up. Keep on the wall. Don't listen to the voices of the critics. Don't let that internal voice of your insecurities bring you down. Pray and work. Remember what the Lord has done and what he will bring you through time and time again. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Next week is our final week of Nehemiah, and we're going to look on shutting the door of distractions. God bless.